Alright, so in this video, I'm taking a look at a Flash source file that was submitted to me by Karen Kent69 over at the Reallusion forums. She sent me this Flash file via email, and basically the issue is that she's experiencing this thing where she's working with the default Reallusion template, and whenever she actually creates and replaces a piece for her character and she tests it out inside of Crazy Talk, and the thing just disappears. The main thing that I'm looking at with this character is that when she has drawn this character, I'm going to zoom in here real quick, and I'm just going to click on something with my mouse. So here I can see that there's a shape here, but when I look in the properties panel, this thing is just a basic drawing object. It's not a symbol, it's not a graphic, it's not a button, it's just a shape. And it's a shape that was drawn using the object drawing mode turned on. So if I turn that on right now, I can draw something with my mouse here. When I select it, whoops, I'm going to turn that on. So I'm going to draw something. I'm going to use my pen. So anything I draw, it draws it as if it was like an object, so it keeps it, separated, but it's still not a symbol. Okay. Now in other software, a symbol is basically what's known as a sprite. Flash doesn't know what any of this stuff is unless you tell it. So it has this whole I guess methodology for you to tell it what it is, and symbols is basically how you do that. So alright, so you're gonna have to forgive me if I start talking as if you're a total noob or something. I don't know what your experience level is with Flash, but I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, and I'm gonna go over a few basic concepts that will help pretty much anybody else who may be looking at this video get a better understanding of how to work with Flash, and through that basically how to work with these type of characters, how to create these templates from scratch if you need to. So I'm going to create a new project in Flash real quick, just so I can have something to work with that's blank. And basically I'm going to use my brush tool. I don't really like the object drawing mode, so I'm going to turn it off. But I'm going to basically draw I'm just gonna draw something basic, really. Let's draw a happy face or something. So here's an eyeball. Here's a nose. There's another eye, all crooked. Doesn't matter. All right. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do that. Let's make something even more basic so I can actually demonstrate the whole concept behind symbols. I am going to basically go here, and I'm going to draw what looks like a bush or something. I think this is gonna help me demonstrate the idea a little bit better. Now, on the side, I'm going to draw a tree trunk. Just something very basic. Okay, nothing too fancy. Alright, so this tree trunk, Flash doesn't know what it is. All it is, it's look at the properties panel. It's a shape. That's all that Flash knows. Now, if we want to be able to make this into something that's useful or workable, we have to convert it into a symbol. And to do that, you select the item, you go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, or you can press the F8 function key, and you can give it a symbol name. It doesn't really matter for our purposes, but for organizational purposes, we're going to call it trunk. Alright, and we're not going to worry about the registration point right now. We're just going to click OK. So now we have what's called a symbol. Now this trunk is a symbol. If I select it in the properties panel, you can see that it's an instance of trunk. You also have something here that's kind of blank. It says instance name. It doesn't have one. So that's something that you got to keep in mind, because we'll be able to use that. We're gonna come back to that in just a minute. I want to show you what the library is inside of Flash. Every time you create a symbol, there's different types of symbols. There are movie clip symbols, there's graphic symbols, there's button symbols. For the purpose of Crazy Talk animation, you'll be working pretty much with just movie clip symbols. And this is the library panel. Here we have one symbol called trunk. See, now the cool thing about working with symbols is that they're reusable. Okay, I can go into the library here, and before I do that, I'm going to select this other shape here. I'm going to color it in, and I'm going to convert that into a symbol. Okay, I'm going to press F8 on my keyboard. That's the F8 function key. I'm going to call that bush and click OK. Alright, so now I have two symbols inside of my library. Now the cool thing about this is that symbols are reusable. Okay, I have a trunk in my library and I have a bush in my library. So I can go in here, grab an instance of this bush and bring it back onto the stage. So now I have two bushes, right? But notice I don't actually have two bushes. I still have just one. It's one symbol. What I have is two instances of that same symbol. Now the cool thing is that an instance can have different types of properties. For example, here I'm going to scale this one up a bit. This one, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it several times. And so I have, you know, rotation differences, I got scaling differences, I can skew it around just to add a little bit of variety, and for all intents and purposes it kind of looks like a tree with a bunch of leaves and like little bushy areas around there. But in reality it's just two symbols. I just have one bush and one trunk. But Flash is able to keep track of all this. So I have four instances of this bush symbol, right? And the cool thing is that it's because it is just one symbol, I can go in here, double click to edit in place. I can make any changes that I want to this one symbol. I'm just going to add some extra leaves, and notice what happens in the other instances. Because this is really just the same symbol, any modification that I do to this one symbol automatically happens on every other instance of that symbol. Okay, so why is that important? Because Flash can keep track now of what these items are, because we've specified that, okay, this is a bush and this is a trunk. Excuse me. Furthermore, if we want to identify each individual instance, that's when we go and give it a name. For example, this is the first bush. We can call it bush 1. This one we can call it bush 2. This one can be bush 3. And maybe bush 4. Okay, we can do the same thing with the trunk. If we want to add additional branches, for example, we can copy this symbol here, copy, paste it back in there. You know, we manipulate it a little bit just to make it look different. And now we have something that looks like that. Okay, so we can give this little piece an instance name of maybe branch. and we can give this the instance name of trunk. Now, instance names are normally used in scripting. So if I'm making a video game, for example, and what's the word I'm looking for? Programmatically, I think that's the word. I want to be able to change a property of a specific instance. In the code, I can say change the color of bush 1 to blue, you know, or animate the branch, you know, swaying in a certain direction, like through code. I'm simplifying, you know, the wording, but now you have a way of targeting these individual pieces. So it's kind of an organizational thing. It also helps optimize the file sizes and reduce the amount of work you actually have to do. Now, this is very important because in CrazyTalk, you don't always have to draw every single thing in characters that you use for CrazyTalk. So I can draw a single nose, which I'm going to use for, you know, 10 different angles, and simply create 10 instances of that one nose. That way, if I go back in there and modify that one nose, the changes happen across the board on all angles at the same time. It's very efficient. So now that you are aware of the symbols and the symbol instance names and things of that nature, let's go back to the original Reallusion template. So we've established that this here is not a symbol. It's basically just a drawing object. So as far as CrazyTalk is concerned, there's nothing there, or there's nothing there that it recognizes. If we look at some of the other angles, the predefined ones, here's the 315 angle. This is for the front hair. You can tell by going to the properties panel, this is an instance of front hair 315. It also has an instance name of front hair 315. Okay, so the instance name is the important thing. This is what tells CrazyTalk what this piece of artwork is going to be assigned to. All right, so it always works in kind of like pairs. So you have your main sprite, which is the symbol, and you have a pivot point, which is another movie clip really. And that pivot point also has, for example, here, let me see, somewhere here, okay, there's the front hair pivot point for 315. That's the one that corresponds to the main front hair sprite. So these are all symbols, and they have individual instance names. The instance names can be found in the spreadsheet that Reallusion provides for you when you buy the CrazyTalk Animator pipeline version. They give you this entire API type of thing with all the instance names that you would use. So, because technically you don't need this template. As long as you have that spreadsheet, you can just draw all your elements from scratch. You know, you can go in here and say, hey, this is going to be my character's face, and just fill it in. And this is going to be my character's hair, and fill that in. Let's make it a little different color, and I can create, you know, turn that into a symbol, F8. The actual symbol name doesn't matter. Turn that into a symbol, and as long as I give it the proper instance name, which could be something like let's see here, this is the face here, face 315. So, okay, so we give it a name, face 315, and then I'm assuming this is going to be front hair 315 maybe. Yep, front hair 315. Now, when you import this flash file into CrazyTalk, CrazyTalk is going to look at the symbols, and it's going to go, oh, this is the front hair for the 315 angle, because it's going to look at that instance name. Then it's going to go, this is the face for the 315 angle. Now I can copy this, duplicate it, copy paste, and you know what? I can change it and just say, okay, well, this is my 0 degree angle hair, and this is also my 0 degree angle face. I can use the same exact instance to make multiple versions for the different angles. Okay, as long as I keep the naming convention on the instances properly, one of those. Crazy Talk is now going to be able to interpret what we've created, and give me just a second. I'm going to answer the phone. Okay, so we're back, and I'm completely off track. I don't remember what I was talking about, but let's see. Oh yeah, so basically Crazy Talk will remember or will recognize what it is that you're trying to do now with the hair and the face. And you know, if you look at the spreadsheet, then you know all the different parts that you need to create in order to assemble a full character. The problem at this point is that with this particular setup, I don't actually have the pivot points. Pivot points, if you're doing them from scratch, it's just a matter of like maybe making a dot or a little X or something. It's basically taking the center of that symbol and using that as your registration point. So let's say I create this little dot here, little red dot. Okay, now it's a symbol. We're just going to make it nice and small so it's, you know, it doesn't take up too much room. So now that little X is a symbol. And we can just copy that and put as many instances of that as we want. So let's say paste in center. We're going to put that pivot point for the hair, and we just give it the corresponding instance name that belongs to that front hair. Same thing with the face. Control V, we paste it. We paste the pivot point in the part where this face is going to like rotate around. So if we wanted to rotate around this bottom part here, because that's where the neck is going to be, that's where you put your pivot point. But your pivot point has to have a specific name, and that's what you have here. That's the face 315 pivot for that specific angle, and that would be the corresponding sprite for the face. So that's how basically that stuff works. And so as you can see, this is all symbols. So when you get the template, if all you're doing is modifying the default template provided by Reallusion, what you're doing is basically, you know, modifying the already existing symbols. Usually the way that you do that is you just double click. You don't delete these symbols, or you don't move them out of the way, or don't do anything crazy with them. You simply double click on the actual symbol. It's going to take you into edit in place mode. Now that you're inside of edit in place mode, so you have different layers here. This here is where the original artist drew the base color, and what he did is, or she did, they separated the outline. This is not necessary. I think they just did it for artistic or organizational purposes. What you can do here is you can hide this or delete them completely. I recommend leaving them alone and setting these to guide, okay? Because when you set something to guide, you don't have to delete it. Basically, Flash knows that that specific layer is just a guide layer. It's not going to publish it. So when you export your template, this is going to be completely invisible. And I can show you right now. I'm going to export the SWF file, and you can see that in the 315 angle, there's no longer an upper arm. That's because I set those layers as a guide layer, so Flash doesn't even bother publishing them. So on top of this, I created a new layer. Here I can draw whatever I want. So let's say I want like some kind of weird shoulder pad looking thing, and I'm not trying to be fancy with the artwork at all. I just want to be a little bit of, you know, just kind of be efficient with it, so you can see what I'm doing, and I can actually get through a lot of the materials relatively fast. Okay, so now we have some kind of fancy little shoulder thing, and maybe on a different layer below it we can put, let's see here, maybe let's draw a little bit of more of a muscular leg. I'm going to set these to kind of outline so I can see what's beneath them. So let's see here. So we give him a little bit more of a muscular arm. And we're going to copy this color and fill it in, if I can get away with that. I probably can't because I don't have the layers closed off. See, I have the giant gap there. But now I can do it. Alright, so now I have this drawing, which is inside of the symbol. Okay, it's inside of that upper arm symbol. So when I go out, okay, this symbol is exactly in the place that the original symbol was. The original graphics have been set to guides, which means they're not going to get published. So there's no need for me to delete them. I can leave them there as a base to work from. But I can hide them just to keep myself from looking at them. But now I have this particular graphic, which when I publish, I'm going to hit Control Enter so you can see the Flash file itself. Now that's the way the arm looks. That's pretty much how you would work with this default template. You go in there, double click on each individual sprite, modify it any way you want, and those modifications take place inside of your template. Okay, so give him a little bit of pot belly there. So when you export this, this is already a symbol. It already has the proper instance name. It already has the proper associated pivot point. So you're not going to have any trouble re-importing this template back into Crazy Talk if you work with it this way. What was done over here on this side was that all the primary symbols were deleted and replaced with these shapes. So in order to get this to work, you have to go here and say, well, maybe this is, I guess this would be the back hair. So this has to be converted into a symbol. And then you provide the instance name. I think it's something like 0 underscore back underscore hair or something, a variation of that name. You'll need to refer to the spreadsheet to get that proper instance name, or go back and recreate this inside of another clean copy of this original template. That would probably be my suggestion. Now, in a move of shameless self-promotion, if you have Puppet Producer, or if you've never heard of Puppet Producer, this is a plugin that I created that allows you to create characters from scratch without requiring the actual template. You can do any type of bone structures you want. So here I have this shape, which is a hair. I can pull up Puppet Producer. There it is. It opened up in my second monitor, so I'm going to bring it in here. So I'm looking at the 0-degree angle. I know that this is my back hair. All I have to do is click on the back hair. Boom. So this has been converted into a symbol automatically. Then it has been given the back hair 0 instance name. So it's been configured automatically for you. So that's one way to save time. This particular shape here, that's a face. You know, click on the face. Boom. Not only did it click on the face, see, it gave it the name face 0, but it also added the proper pivot points that you need. Here's the nud. See, head nut 0. And somewhere in here, which is hard to see because there's a lot of junk, I think it's right here. There's your phase 0 pivot. All you have to do is move it into place right there, somewhere in there, and you're good to go. So with Puppet Producer, it's very easy to just forget about the template, and you could just draw your items. Okay, this is my face, this is my front hair, this little shape here, that's gonna be my back hair. It's just all crazy. And let's see here, this is gonna be my neck. All right, so let's I'm gonna group these together just so I don't have to convert them into symbols first. It does help. And in fact, if you group everything first and convert it into symbols, it helps better, because in here, let's see, convert to symbol, I can adjust the center point of this neck, for example, to be right there. I can go in here, adjust the registration point for that face to be there. I can say that the back hair, we're going to keep the registration point there, and we're going to leave that as is. Alright, so when I assemble my character, I got back hair, I got front hair, and I have a neck, which I'm going to move to the bottom there. So with Puppet Producer, you know, I select the angle that I'm working on. In this case, it's the front angle. All right, there's a face. Boom. It automatically created. Oh well, so I have multiple versions, so that kind of screwed me up a little bit. But we'll try it again. Bam. So there's my nud. There's my face pivot. Front hair. Click on the front hair. Back hair. Click on the back hair. Neck. Click on the neck. And I have a pretty much a solid face, fully configured. Took me a few seconds. You know, if you're doing the eyes, nose, mouth, you know, I select my eyes. Okay, that's one eye. That's another eye. There's a nose, and there's a mouth. Big deal. Put it on the face, and I'm done. So it's not that hard to assemble a character with Puppet Producer. You don't have to worry about a pre-designed template that you have to restrain yourself in. You could just create, you know, free form and just rig it up as you go. So that was my bit of shameless, I guess, plug for my own product. I won't be doing that again for this particular video. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an alternative. But anyways, that's pretty much it. I mean, the only thing that you did wrong is that you replaced the entire symbol with a basic shape, and you didn't tell Flash what it was, and Crazy Talk doesn't know what it is because you don't have, you know, instance names. And that's why when you import it, it disappears. I mean, it's just not being imported at all. It's being ignored. Only those parts that are properly configured will be imported. And that's what's going on with your project. And hopefully this helps. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask. More than happy to answer them. Until then, I mean, I guess that's it. Enjoy.